What's up? What's up? How y'all doing this morning? Who is ready to have a good time this morning? Let me hear you. Come on, y'all. Thanks for finding us this morning. I know we're right here in the historic Municipal Auditorium for a reason that is historic in itself, and that is the James Burton Festival is here, and we want to give James a big round of applause and a thank you for letting us be a part of it with him, right? We had a great time last night. You'll hear a little bit more about that. We even have some special guests going to come out just to see you this morning. How cool is that, right? It's worth getting up and being here, so get ready for a great morning, but I have one question for you. Are you ready for a little Lincoln Brewster this morning to crank it up a notch? Oh, yeah. Don't forget, baby, it is time to lift up the name of the Lord. Everybody on your feet. Let's get ready. Ladies and gentlemen, Lincoln Brewster.
How are we doing this morning? want you to shout if you're living for the Lord in this house. Come on. Sing it out. I'm living my life for you. I'm giving everything to you. I'm not holding back on every part. Come on. Giving it all to you. I'm living my life for you. I'm giving everything to you. I'm not holding back on every part. Giving it all to you. Giving it all to you. Giving it all to you. Yeah. Giving it all to you. Give it all. Give it all. Give it all. Give it all. Give it all to you. Here we go. What? Come on, y'all! Lincoln Brewster in the house this morning. Come on!
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there, y'all. Are you ready to have a good time or what, huh? All right, man, look, take a seat because we have some special things to do right up front. And I told you we have some special guests, but let me tell you why these special guests are here. It is all about Guitars for Good. It is all about partnering with the James Burton Foundation and making sure that we recognize the veterans that have served this country so faithfully. And what we'd like to do today is present some guitars to those veterans in our area who have been affected by war. And let me tell you something, these are the true heroes of our society. Put a round of applause together for them, right? So to help me with presenting these guitars to our special veterans this morning, that's right, from the American Pickers, this is our boy, Mr. Mike Wolf. Give it up for him right here on Sunday morning. There he is right there, man. Give it up for him, bro. Thanks for being here, bro. We're going to get right over there, Mike. And then the man who makes it all possible. This is the man with the plan. We had a great night last night and stayed up late. So you need to give him a big round of applause for getting up early. That's right, Mr. James Burton himself. Come on out, Mr. James. This is what it's all about right there, Mr. James, man. What a privilege. Oh, you're welcome, man. You're welcome. All right, here's what we're going to do. These are the guitars over here. So, Keith, come on out. Tell us about who's coming. But, Lincoln, if you would, give it up for Mr. Lincoln Brewster. Let him get on out here again as well. Come on. Here's what we're going to do, guys. We have multiple families. Keith's going to tell you a little bit about them, and then they're going to come out and we'll present their guitars to them. So listen close.
All right, first one we got is Mr. Ben Cothran. Ben served with the Louisiana Army National Guard. He was between 2003 and 2004. He fractured his back, his neck, dislocated his shoulder in a wreck during the Central Iraq Uprising. All right, next up we have Miss Beth Newberry. Now, this is on behalf of her father, John Earl Newberry. Now, this is pretty cool because she said her dad always told the story that he went to school with Mr. James Burton, which is pretty cool. And always played Elvis records when they were younger, but he was a Marine, recently passed away. And the guitars are given on behalf in memory of his father today to Miss Beth Newberry. All right, they got those pictures taken. Very next, we have Mr. Jonathan Perkins. Jonathan Perkins was with the U.S. Navy from 1991 to 1997. He served with the Office of Naval Intelligence. Now, I asked Jonathan what he did, and he told me he could tell me what he did, but he'd have to kill me. Next up, we have Mr. Pearlie Dupuis. Mr. Pearlie served with the U.S. Army from 1968 to 1970. He was wounded in Vietnam in 1969. A hand grenade blew up on his stomach, and he still has shrapnel in his body. Received the Purple Heart for that. So we have today Mr. Pearlie Dupuis. And next up, we have Mr. Mike McCrary and his family. Mike has his two sons with him, Michael III and Caleb, and they are the recipients of the guitar. Mike was an M1A1 Abrams tank commander in October 2004, 2005. He was wounded in action in an assault there in Iraq.
Great job. All right, give us a round of applause one more time, man. How cool is this? Mike, thank you for being here, bro. James, thanks for doing it, right? Lincoln, let's get that electric on. Give him a little tribute. What do you say? How many want to hear Lincoln Brewster? Give him a little tribute this morning, huh? We got something. Give him a big round of applause. There they are one more time, man. Thank y'all for serving our country. Ladies and gentlemen, you get a treat this morning because the Star-Spangled Banner presented by Mr. Lincoln Brewster. Come on, y'all. Let's get ready to learn a little bit more about Lincoln. Lincoln, if you don't mind, take a seat over here, my friend. This is quite a privilege to be a part of such a special day, man. And how about last night, Lincoln? Was that not insane?
It was insane.
How many got to come last night and hear a little bit of the show? Let me hear you. Yeah, man. You missed it if you were not here because everybody was here. And Lincoln got to play with Paul Schaefer from the CBS Tonight Show band, right? How cool was that?
That was crazy. I've been watching Paul Schaefer on the Letterman Show for years. And it was kind of funny. Can I give a little behind the scenes?
You can do whatever you want, bro.
Okay, so when I met Paul up in the ballroom earlier in the day, we'd never met each other, and I'm always in that position where I'm like being the weird guy, and I'm like, hey, my name's Lincoln, and of course he's going, who are you? And then I was like, hey, do you want to jam with me tonight? Which is the weirdest question to somebody who has no idea who you are. And then he was like, if I'm here, maybe, yeah, who's this? And so it was really cool. Right before I came out, I saw him and I said, hey, are you done for the night? And he's like, no, I'm hanging around till the end. And I'm like, when I'm playing Going Down, come on, man, it's going down. And he was like, okay. I went, awesome, I'll call you out. So it was incredible to get to play with Paul.
Unbelievable, too, just because there's so many talented people. I mean, it really was amazing. But what's really special is many of you don't know exactly who this is and how special he is. He's downplaying a little bit because in the midst of all of the stars, trust me, bro, you still shine bright. I promise you.
Oh,
His
I
guitar
appreciate
playing
that.
and who he is
Thank
as a
you.
man
Thank you.
was very, very bright. But just for the people who are still trying to figure it out, if you're here today, we're going to do just a little bit of your background. And I want to, again, I'm going to put some people on the screen for them. They'll be able to see them up here. We don't have to look down here. But the reason I say this is because you're used to being on the stage with some pretty big names. For example, here's a picture for you just so you understand. Let's throw up a little Lincoln Brewster and Steve Perry from The Journey, son. And I'm going to say right now, it's difficult to recognize you mainly because of the mop mullet. I guess that's what that is.
That was last week. That's the crazy part.
Right. So, but what I understand is, let's go to the next picture because I want to be able to get a little clearer picture of you. There is what I'm talking about right there, son.
Man, she is not bad looking.
Hey, were the 90s jacked up or what, though, really? What
It
year
was
is this? Give us a year.
That was a style crisis. That was we were in that sort of style
you
purgatory.
had sleeveless on, bad hair and sleeveless on.
I know. That was the thing.
It didn't matter.
It was style purgatory back
yeah.
then. It was.
What year is this?
That was 94, 95, something
Okay,
like
now
that.
I'm going further back. You ready?
Oh,
Because
no.
your style, as it went into this, the 90s is one thing, but let's go back to the earlier years.
What are you going to do to me
Let's
here?
watch this right here. Yes, sir. 15 years old, baby. Look at that right there. You had a bad hair then, too.
I did. Listen, I will have the mullet of every era. I'm convinced I have it again.
No, dude, that is now how cool is that hairdo though, y'all, right? What? Dude, that's sweet. All right, now what I wanted to do is, I showed this last week, but it's just pretty cool because again, people don't know a whole lot about your past. But I want to show a little video clip. This is actually Steve Perry talking about you as a young man, and we want to talk about that just a little bit because again, lead singer for Journey, unbelievable. I mean, I love Journey. Classic, right? And then to know that Lincoln was with Steve through this whole tour stuff. But just listen to what Steve Perry has to say about this man right here. Check this out.
Brewster is this 21-year-old guy when I first met him, and he's going to be 23 pretty quick. And he's an old one. But I went through Los Angeles, and I had heard every pyrotechnic 4th of July sounding guitar player I could run across. And boy, they were too. They were just like, and I'm just going, and Brendy Jackson called me and says, I've got this guitar player. I heard you're looking for one on a piece of tape here. You should listen to it. He's a young kid, but there's something about him. You should just check it out. We met, and he was a great kid. And he's still the kid. He's young, but he's really, really talented. And sometimes the way he talks, I don't know how he got so wise for a guy his age. He's a very, very wise man.
How cool is that, though, right?
Where'd you find that?
We dug. I really did because,
Man.
Like when I sit here and I think about what you've accomplished in your career and the influence you've had, it's pretty amazing to hear Steve Perry say, you're a wise man. Even when you were early 20s at this point,
Wow.
That there was something different about you than all of the other musicians, that something stood out. I mean, can you go back to that time a little bit? What was going on in your life? And I mean, what was happening with you?
It was interesting. So that was shortly after I came to Christ, actually. And so that I think that was the thing that he saw, because it certainly wasn't anything, with me personally. But I remember we would occasionally talk about faith and what that meant. And he was, very skeptical, and right. He would usually go, But it was funny. Being a young Christian, when I got the invite to be in Steve's band, I didn't know what to do. And, I'm a big believer in, when the Bible says there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. Right. And you got to choose them wisely, but we all got to be surrounded by good people. And so I just asked some people who I trusted. And the general consensus and what I felt in my heart was like God was saying, yeah, go for it. I'm going to allow you to do this. Cool. And I didn't know, till here we are talking about it, right? 20 years later or whatever. But that God allowed it, and now I see why he allowed me to do that in that season.
Well, what's crazy too is I don't know if we picked up on it when we watched it, but then there was a mention of another guy who helped connect you. And here's a picture. If y'all don't know who I'm talking about, you may have recognized him from television a little bit, but that is our boy Randy Jackson from American Idol.
Yeah.
Now, just so if y'all wonder, like, how did that connection? Here is another picture of Randy. He actually toured with Journey, which I saw this tour, which was awesome. Check out that hair. You talking about bad hair?
Yeah.
Randy had it going on as well, but that was their connection. So how did that work? I mean, he's the one that told Steve Perry about you. What was that?
Yeah, so after he played with Journey, Randy ended up working for Columbia Records, which was a subset of Sony, and I had a friend who knew Randy. It was one of those things where it's all relationship based, and so they knew I was working on this instrumental music, and he said, Randy wants to hear your stuff, and so my mom and I actually drove down to LA from Northern Cal, and my friend Dave said, hey, so here's the address to go drop off your demo. Right. And it's the Sony Music Building. And if you don't know anything about record company buildings in LA, the first floor, when you walk in the door, is a giant armed security guard and one elevator.
They're not letting you in.
They're not letting you in. And so I walk up, to the guy, kind of like, sorry that I exist, and I said, he said, how can I help you? And I said, my name's Lincoln, and he goes, Brewster? And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
I'm on the list.
We go to the elevator. Yeah, I'm on the list. So we got to go up, and so I go up to Columbia Records A&R department. Nobody gets into Columbia, any A&R department. That's where you get record deals. And so I was just flipping out. Wow. And Randy comes walking out. I couldn't believe it. I'd watched Randy on MTV with Journey, and I knew all about him. And he does talk like that. What's up, dog? What's up, dog? Yeah, dog. And that was the extent of our dialogue.
I'm not much deeper though, so that's where me and Randy could get along real good.
That is
dog.
true.
Right?
Yeah. So like 2 months goes by. I'm back in Modesto, and I'm working at Wilson's Leather in the mall. Do you guys remember Wilson's Suede and Leather?
Yeah, man.
So I was working. If you need a leather coat, come see me. I was working at Wilson's in the mall. I get home from work one night. I was still living at home, and the phone rings, and my mom goes, hey, there's a phone call for you. And I said, do you know who it is? And she goes, it's Steve Perry. And I was like, ha ha, Mom, who is it? And she said, I don't recognize the voice. I'm like, is it one of my friends like playing it? Because I had these friends who would like send me pizzas in the middle of the night and stuff. And so I thought, I'm not condoning that, kids. So I pick up the phone, and I recognize Steve's voice because I've watched him on TV so much. And I turned like 5 shades whiter than I am now, which is hard to believe. And it was amazing. We talked on the phone for like 3 hours and connected. And he said, well, hey, the next time you're down in L.A., give me a call. And just so happened I was planning on L.A. like 4 days from then or something.
Right.
Yeah, so I went down, and we were hurt. I ended up going to lunch with him. Then I went over to his house, and I'm sitting in his living room, and he's like, do you want to jam tomorrow? And I'm like, okay. Yeah, it was awesome.
It really is amazing. The Bible says you can make your plans, but the Lord orders your steps. What it says in Proverbs. What's cool to me is there's no way you could have made that connection without God already setting that stuff up, because some of those things were even foundational in who you become to this day, you know what I'm saying?
That's
and
right.
the influences and the relationships now. So, and for us, that's one of the things, again, a lot of these people didn't grow up listening to Christian music. They don't know that, but they know Steve Perry. They know Journey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, bro, he used to play with him. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And last night was another great example. Not everybody was a believer. We had some great believers here last night, but there were some, too, that are just like, hey, man, this is a cool vibe. And what I'm thankful for and proud of is James Burton, obviously, man, and you is just another example. Dole Dykes was another great example. Just using your gifts and your talents, your abilities to honor God, even in the midst of the world. How cool is that? Huh?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
pretty amazing stuff, man. Pretty cool. All right, let me transition to another part of your life. And many of you, I promise you don't know this. This man comes from a different part of the world than, trust me, you've probably never seen. But I have actually a picture from your hometown, all right? This is actually the welcome sign. That's right. He is from the wonderful Homer, Alaska.
Yes.
How awesome is that, right?
That's right.
Makes you famous, and they don't even know why yet. But the reason, now you grew up there from 2 on? How old?
Yeah, 2 till 15, yeah.
Okay, so this is why. Many of you have never heard of this. You don't make the connection. But this next picture will give you a little insight on why it's so special. Check this out right here. This is, again, the Time Bandit.
Yeah.
Now, you're probably going, what is the connection with the Time Bandit? Well, Lincoln, why don't you just break it down for us
You got it.
and give us your past?
How
man?
many know what the Time Bandit is? Just show of hand. Wow, okay, a lot of you. So I grew up, yes, in Homer, Alaska. It's a little fishing town right on the water there. And so my stepdad was a commercial fisherman, and his name was John Hillstrand Sr., and so those guys who run that boat are my ex-stepbrothers. And I remember when we were designing that boat and getting ready to build it, we had watched a movie called Time Bandits, and that's where the boat got its name. Wow. And I remember my stepdad used to sit at the table, and he kind of could, he was a bit of an artist, and he was drawing that boat out. And,
wow.
And I remember he went, we're going to call it the Time Bandit. And,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty wild. So when I was watching Deadliest Catch, they had a pilot episode.
Right.
There was a boat actually on the pilot episode, if any of you remember this, if you go way, way back, that actually sank called the Big Valley.
Right.
And I actually fished on that boat when I was a kid.
Wow.
And it was scary when I went, what is that boat still doing on the ocean?
You're thinking it should have been out, right?
No. And it wasn't a bigger boat either. So, but then the season 2 comes on, and sure enough, there's the Hillstrands, and I couldn't believe it. So,
well, we pulled some pictures too, because I think you even on your Twitter account showed like this was a picture of you. This was on Deadliest Catch, and they kind of had. Where are you at in that picture?
Okay, so those are the Hillstrand brothers, the kind of teen-looking ones, and then the clearly the adult there in the picture. That was my stepdad, their dad, and then if you see the little tiny kid in the bottom left with the baseball cap, that's me.
Cool. See, and there's all kind of pictures too. So we pulled up. We've once again dug in a little bit. Let's show a couple other pictures, because I think this is around all the same time. But look at that right there, huh?
That's amazing.
That's pretty cool. So I think we have one more, maybe something like that. Look at that, dude.
Look at that. Still with the bad hair.
No,
I was
dude,
trying
you
to
were
cover
smart
it up
right
with
then.
a,
You went
with
with
a
the hat.
That's right.
You went with
That was
the hat,
my Mac hat.
Yeah, man, that's it.
I
Run
wore
your
that
game,
thing
man.
out. That's me holding a king crab. You can't really see the body of the crab, but the crab was taller than me.
Wow.
Yeah, so we used to get them like, back then you could actually fish on the bay where I lived. It's all, the halibut ate them all up now. Now it's all halibut. But you could fish for king crab right out there. So my stepdad occasionally would come home, and we would go down to the dock and get live king crab right off the boat. And then when we saw the boat coming in front of the house, we would go get a big pot and fill it full of salt water and start a bonfire on the beach and get it boiling. And those crab, we'd bring them right from the harbor live.
See, now you're making me hungry, dude.
Well, it didn't get any more fresh than that, right? That's fresh seafood. When I moved to California,
Right.
every bit of seafood I was like, what is this?
Well, this is what's crazy to me is in the midst of all of that, growing up, it wasn't always so good, though. I mean, you had great, stories coming up, and I know a little bit more about it, but particularly when it comes to your stepdad and that relationship, and I think there's a lot of people in here that can relate and understand to your story, but tell them a little bit more about that relationship and I guess the tension there.
Yeah, so my stepdad was a massive alcoholic. There was, and he also happened to be a very abusive guy. So my home was just full of, domestic violence, alcoholism, drug abuse. There was a lot of drug abuse with the brothers and with him. And, it was a tough thing. And I think when you're, it really doesn't matter your age, but especially when you're real young, like to watch my mom go through that, because that was something I witnessed a lot, I still remember the images today. Sure. And so that was, it's one of those behind the scenes that's like, not so fun to talk about and difficult.
Did it affect the way you raised your family? Did it affect the way, again, that you decided to be, a dad?
Yeah, it did. It does. And it does in this way. I made a decision, and this is one of those things that sometimes I just felt like I needed to man up. Like when I decided I was going to get, ask my wife to marry me, and I just made some commitments to myself, and I just decided I didn't want to let my past be a crutch and an excuse to behave like what I saw. And it was kind of like, I heard somebody tell me one time, well, that's all I've ever seen. And I went, I don't buy that. I think even though you haven't seen it, you can go figure it out and go, it doesn't make sense to hit my wife, and it doesn't make sense to talk disrespectful to her, and it doesn't make sense to hit my kids. And so I know a lot of people have gone down that path, But I'm going to make some commitments. And one is I will only ever touch my wife with a gentle and loving hand. I'm going to do my best to learn from guys around me how to be a godly husband and father and love my kids. And man, I'm over the top affectionate with my family. I'm just like, I'll hug my kids, and I always tell people I will continue to grab them and hug them and kiss them. I got 2 boys, and I don't care. I'm hugging them and kissing them until I can no longer physically dominate them.
I understand.
But I want them to know that Dad loves them and that I'm proud of them, and because I didn't get that growing up.
Right.
So even if they don't know what I'm giving to them, I do, because I know what it feels like to grow up without that. And you know, I wish I could sit here and tell you that. You know, I think sometimes in faith community and when we accept Christ, we go, you know what? God just made it all better. And the reality is that it still hurts. I still have a void in my life from not having a dad who was present in my life, who was a dad I could model and look to, and it's still that way. And you know what? Even though I'm older now, I still wish I had it. I still wish I could pick up the phone. Hey, Dad, give me some wisdom. But you know what? God's brought people into my life in amazing ways, and so I feel blessed in that sense. But at some point, all of us got to choose to be the generation that changed it, and that from here forward, it started and it's different.
That's it, man. That's true right there. Give them a round of applause. Because I think all of us here can relate to that. I mean, I do a lot of counseling, spend a lot of time with a lot of people working through things, and one of the questions they would probably want to ask you if they were sitting in this is, did you get to a place where forgiveness was real, or are you still working towards that, even after all these years? And describe that journey, if at all possible. I know it's kind of
Well, so I'm glad you asked about that. The forgiveness thing is a weird deal, and if you read in the Bible, when Jesus first shows back up, right? So they think he's died and not coming back, and they're all discouraged and up there in the upper room, they're hiding. And he shows back up, and the first thing he says to him is, hey, peace be to you guys. And what he was trying to say was everybody relax, because he walked through the door, if you know what I'm saying? Like through the door, and the door, nothing happened to it.
That would freak you out.
Yeah, so they were like, "Gah!" And he was like, relax, everybody, peace to you. And then the first thing he ever talks about when he's ready to go, all right, we're on to the phase of what we're really here to do, is he talks about forgiveness. And this is the interesting part, and this just hit me like a freight train. He said, if anybody sins against you and you forgive them, they're forgiven. But if you don't, you retain them. You retain them. And I was going, wow. Because I thought, you know what? There's people in this room who have unforgiveness for people who have passed away. Like, they're not going to get anything out of it either way. All it's doing is sandbagging your life. And I just decided I didn't want any part of that. I thought forgiveness, God's designed it in such a way where when we forgive others, it's for us. That's right. They don't get anything out of it. We gain. And if we don't, then we're the only ones who suffer. And so, yeah, I've completely forgiven him. I actually got to see my stepdad. I took my wife up there. And it was one of those heavy things where I wanted to see him. Part of me wanted to confront him. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was bigger. I had left as a child. I came back as a man. And you know what?
Go ahead.
Well, when you watch somebody beat up your mom, and you think about it for years, and it grinds on you and jacks your life up, and I was mad. I wanted to get back at him. And so I went up there, and we were up in Homer. And I told Laura, I said, I think I know where John's going to be tonight. And she said, really? And I said, I just have this gut. I just know him. And we drive out to the end of the Homer Spit, and it was amazing. I ran into him right where I thought he would be. Wow. And so I start walking towards him, and he kind of looks up, and it was kind of getting towards nighttime, and he said, can I help you? And I said, yeah, it's Lincoln. And he just kind of said, pardon? I said, John, it's Lincoln. And he didn't even recognize me. Wow. And it was amazing. I walked right up to him, and I didn't know if I was going to hug him or if I was going to punch him in the face. I really didn't. And I mean that. I'm not a violent guy, but I just thought, I could smash this guy right now. And all those pictures of what he did to my mom going through my head, and my sister and my brother and me. And he looked at me, and all I saw on his face was just pain. And he just looked, it was like he was going through the same images and didn't have the skill set to tell me how sorry he was. Wow. And so I just was very gentle, and we had a great interaction, and he's now passed away, but yeah, I've let it go. I've forgiven him. It's what God tells us to do, and you realize when you do it, it's for you, not for the person you're forgiving.
It's freedom, man.
It is. It's absolutely freedom. So
yeah, you know what's cool about that is so many times people think, like artists like yourself, people, they hear their worship albums or they see them on stage, and I mean, whether it's a pastor or again a worship guy, whatever, it's like, man, you guys, everything goes your way. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, like I said, we've lost a baby, went through miscarriage and all this crazy stuff, and we shared those stories. But also in your family, I want to put a picture of your beautiful family just so that they can get a visual image of, again, his beautiful wife, his good-looking kids there, man. But what's crazy about this image to me is the more I looked at this and then I looked into your story, I realized that, again, that is an unbelievable, beautiful picture, but there are things going on in that particular beautiful wife of yours life that was very difficult as well. That everybody thinks, oh, he's got everything. Man, he went with Steve Perry. He's making these albums. He's got them all made. But they don't know about the abuse. They don't know about the way which you've overcome and got through with Christ helps. But then tell us about what's going on with your wife, because this is a whole nother chapter that was pretty dark and pretty difficult.
Yeah, so back in February, we were just getting started making this new album, and about 4 days into recording, my wife ended up, I was actually going to a meeting at church, and she sent me, she called me and said, hey, I think I need you to take me to the ER, which she knew I had this meeting that was pretty important and normally would never do. And I was like, I'll be right home. So I take her to the ER. It ends up, it's her gallbladder. But because she went in, they did this CT scan of her abdomen and found out that they said her appendix looked abnormal. So 4 days later, they took her gallbladder out. And when they did, they took her appendix out too. And, we were cracking jokes about it, going, get in there to get a 2-for-1 and all that. Well, so it was a really kind of crazy time. I'm working on the album, and I'm finishing renegotiating my record deal, and that was kind of a crazy thing. And I'm on a Skype call with the president of Integrity Music, and I get a text from the surgeon. And this is one of the, I almost don't have enough time to tell you the whole backstory, but this is a guy that we met late last year because Levi went in. We thought he had appendicitis, and it ended up being nothing. But we met this guy. He's a Christian, and he was like, anything you ever need, let me know.
Right.
And so I called him about this whole thing. Well, he's the guy who does her surgery and then gives me his phone number and said, I'll text you whenever I know something. And he texts me, and I'm in the middle of this call, and, man, I just couldn't believe it. It said 2.6 centimeter carcinoid tumor. This is going to get complicated. And I'm in the middle of this conference call, just absolutely gutted, and I'd done enough reading where I knew what that meant. And they don't, with appendiceal cancer is what it was, they don't have a lot of information on it. There's less than 1,000 cases a year in the U.S. And so we started on this journey, and I felt like I should just stop making the album. I was like, I just need to be there for my wife. That's my number one thing. And I felt like God was just going, keep going. Just trust me. And it was one of those, it sounds churchy and cliche, but it really was for me. It was one of those manna from heaven kind of everyday things where I'd go, Lord, I don't know how I'm going to have the mental bandwidth to be creative. And then I just want to be there for Laura, whatever she needs. And so we went to specialists, and man, it was scary. For those of you who have dealt with cancer in here, you know what I'm talking about. And we just weren't geared up for that. I think at the time that was something that happened in other people's homes. It wasn't a real thing for us. And we flew down to San Diego and went in Sharp Hospital, and we walk into the the infusion center and all that. I mean, I'm sure there's people doing that right now, and it was scary as all get out. And so I'm glad to say she went through 2 major surgeries, and the second one, she had to recover in the hospital for a week. And it was crazy. I would stay the night with her, and
At this time, though, she's good then. So you went through crazy stuff, but at this point, cancer-free.
we didn't know at that point. So we did this week-long. She is now.
Yeah.
She's good now. And yes,
Yeah,
I'm.
praise
Oh. But at that time where she was 1 week recovering in the hospital, we didn't know. And they said if they find anything in her lymph nodes, she got to do chemo. And if they find anything in her abdomen, she has to go do this whole other thing where they
Right.
fill her up with heated chemo. And it was very scary.
Right.
And so I was writing songs while I was in the recovery room, and like in the middle of the night, I had my laptop, and I'm sitting next to her bed, and she's in her hospital bed, and I'm like writing lyrics. And there was one song that I was going, and that we'll play tonight. But I was going, this has got to be hopeful. Like I'd want to be able to hand this to her, not as her husband, but just as a friend. I'd want to be able to go, hey, you should listen to this, and just know that God has your back.
Right.
Like he's for you. I don't get all this. I don't know why this happened. Listen, folks. I mean, Justin's a pastor.
Dude, don't hit my nose.
Sorry, I'm hitting your nose. You're a pastor. I'm a pastor at my church. And so many times when we face troubles and trials and craziness, we want clarity. That's our thing. Like why? We want to know why it happens. And the reality is it's not what we need. It's what we want as people. We want, God, tell me why is this happening? You could make this go away. You could just heal my wife. I was so frustrated sometimes. But God's saying all you need is certainty. You just need to know what you're certain of. And that was what I had to roll on every day. I mean, some good friends of ours, it's 2 of our closest friends, lost a 21-year-old son in a car wreck. And at the exact same time, probably 4 days before Laura was having her surgery. And I had to do the memorial service. And it was just like emotional overload. And it was all about going, you guys, we just need to know what we're certain of. And here's what I'm certain of. I'm certain that God loves me. I'm certain that God loves all of you. I'm certain that I'm going to spend eternity in heaven with him. And I kind of went, when we start looking at those foundational things about what we're certain of, I went, I guess all the rest of it doesn't really matter. It sucks, but
That's right.
But I don't have to know why.
You know, it's funny, last week, that's what I did, same thing. We got up, it was right coming back, talking about the stuff we were going through, that same thing. God loves us, we can trust him, and we have to obey him.
Yeah.
No matter what, it's the same thing. It's like, it doesn't make sense, and so you have to keep on this journey. But what's cool is, and this is why I love doing interviews like this, is because it's not just me and my life, it's not just you and your life, and all the junk you brought in here, and all the uncertainty, it's all of us. But even we all have this one thing in common, and that is that personal relationship with Christ, which this is what's cool to me as well. It is hopeful. Even in the midst of all the challenges, that's why I want to talk about this next song, this new album you've got coming out, because you're writing that album with all that's going on. It's inspired some of the songs, and this next song I would really love for you to play, just selfishly, because I've bought the album, okay? You have my money, all right? So I've bought the album. It's on iTunes, go download. But it is unbelievable because it is actually, you don't know this, but me and my wife, it is one of our favorite scriptures based on this, and that is, again, 2 Corinthians 5:17, if anyone is in Christ, they're a new creation. The old is gone, all things become brand new. This song is called Made New. Tell us a little bit about it, because don't you want to hear some music, not just up here talking? You got to come back tonight. Don't forget, we got a couple of songs, but you do not want to miss tonight. But tell us just real fast about this song.
Yeah, this idea, like just like what you said, about God making us new. And man, are you glad that we serve a God of second chances?
Yes, thank God.
Good Lord. I look at myself and I just go, I got a jacked up past and still working through it today. And, 3.5 years ago, I felt like I was totally imploding, and I went and started seeing a counselor, and it was one of the best things I ever did, and just really I got to sort through some of this. And, we go to experts for everything except for that. Right. We all of us, just so you know, if you're like, you see a counselor, all of us do counseling. Every single one of us. Most of us do it with well-intentioned idiots called friends.
That's the truth.
And so I just I want to go to an expert who could see kind of what this whole dealing with my dad issues and all that stuff. But I realized through that process that every day I get up, there's a great scripture that said, God's mercies are new every morning.
That's right.
Yes, I'm so stoked for that. I know me too well. And so I wanted to make an album that was full of songs that are hopeful and encouraging and songs that would remind us. There's that lyric says, you hold my head up and you remind me who I am. It's so important that we see ourselves as much as possible the way God sees us, not the way we see us. Because our own view of ourselves is really crummy, honestly. And God's going, man, I love you no matter what. I love you in spite of all your issues. I'm here for you. I'll never leave you or forsake you. And he's making us new every day. It's this continual process that he's renewing us. And so
you want to hear it this morning? Come on, man. Let's do it. Let me get these chairs out of the way. Let's get this band up here. Have a little new song for you on the brand new album, man. Get ready for a great night tonight as well. This is, again, just a little touch of what you will have tonight. Lincoln, take it away.
You guys, thank you for listening to some of my story, man. I appreciate it. And Justin, thank you. You guys got a great pastor, man. That guy's class act. We get to travel a lot, go to a lot of different churches, and you know what? You guys have a unique thing happening here. God's doing a unique thing in your city and through this church, and just encourage you to lean into that. And we're all church guys. We all come from the same church back home in Sacramento, California. It's called Bayside, and we love the church. We love being a part of a local community and pouring into it. And so we're so encouraged. Last time we came out here, last April, we went home and we're like, man, you guys got to hear, we got to talk to you about the Simple Church, what they're doing. It's so exciting. And the do-good story you guys have right down there in the middle of it all. And just, but, and then I want to make sure that, that you guys do me a favor, would you? You know what? Being in ministry can be a difficult thing. You get a lot of criticism sometimes, and I just want to encourage you guys that if you think good thoughts about your church, if you think nice things about it, it's funny. You know, when we'll get the comments thing, people will drop comments in the offering bucket sometimes, and a lot of them seem like they're critical. But I just want to encourage you guys, send as much encouragement to your pastor and his family and the staff as you possibly can, man. They couldn't get enough of it. And you know what? You guys have a pastor here who's absolutely worth it, man. He's a real deal and he's a great guy. So anyway, he didn't make me say any of this. But all right, well, we believe that worship's not a spectator sport, so let's stand up if you're able, and if you have to stay sitting, that's fine, as long as you're standing on the inside. I'm going to teach you this chorus if you don't know it. It goes like this.
You hold my head up. You remind me who I am.
Come on.
You hold my head up. I'm alive in you again.
Sing it out.
You hold my head up. You remind me who I am. You hold my head up. I'm alive in you again. I'm made new. I'm made new. Whoa. I'm made new. Whoa. You sing it. I'm made new.
Come on.
I'm made new.
All right, you guys ready?
Are you ready? Sing it. You hold my head up. You hold my head up.
Let me tell you something, Lincoln, y'all got one more this morning, dude. I know it's tough. And remember the concert, I'm telling you, you better spread the word because it is first come, first serving. You already see what it's like in here today. You know how many people will be here. Doors open at 5 o'clock. There are no reserved seats, and when the 3,000 are gone, they're gone. There's no way to sneak you in, no way to get you in the back. So if you want to be here tonight for the entire show, make sure you make it a priority. But just in case, we're going to give you one more song this morning, and then I got one other announcement before you leave. You want to hear one more? All right, now take it away.
All right, this is another new one off the new record. We got to do another new one. Is that cool? This talks about everybody shout and make it loud. So we're going to leave this on a good note this morning. You guys with me? That response in my church is what we call a golf clap, and we don't allow those in my church. So I said, are you ready? All right, it goes like this.
Everybody shout, make it loud. All of heaven sing, hear the sound. Let the praises ring, your renown. Every day we live to praise you.
All right, you got it? It's a little complex, but let's not get... Okay, here we go. Let's try it again.
Everybody shout, make it loud.
All of heaven.
All of heaven sing, hear the sound. Let the praises ring, your renown. Every day, and every day we live to praise you.
Is that feeling better? All right, now we're just gonna take it up a notch so you can hear how we're really gonna do it. It's a little more like this. Here we go.
Everybody shout, make it loud. All of heaven sing, hear the sound. Let the praises ring, your renown. Every day we live to praise you. You got it?
All right, here we go. Come on, put your hands together.
and let me tell you something. On your way out today, out in the lobby, there are all kind of products available for you. The brand new album with this new merchandise made new is available, and I'm telling you, you might want to get it now because it may be gone by the time you get here tonight. It's the way it works, dude. That is his stuff. It's all out there as well. Also, Guitars for Good, man. You see me wearing our shirt right now? We'll give all of the proceeds, again, to help people get guitars, to help people around the world. The Guitars for Good stuff is out there, including some really cool guitar art, man. May even get Lincoln to sign one of these for a little auction later on, all right? All for helping other people in our community and around the world, all right? We will see you back tonight. If you're ready for it, let me hear you say one more time, oh yeah! 6 o'clock is the show. We'll see you tonight. Peace!